Hello and welcome to our new speakers series brought to you by the Skyline Athletic Booster Club. We're glad you could join us. My name is Emily Gensheimer and I'll be your host for this evening. I'm a senior at Skyline and a member of the Skyline varsity volleyball team. This session is being recorded and will be posted to the SABC website at skylineboosters.org. Throughout the year, the SABC will host virtual sessions to highlight the vast array of professions that surround the world of sports. Topics may include broadcasting, journalism, sports psychology, sports statistics, training and physical therapy, just to name a few. You don't have to be an elite athlete to be involved in the sport industry. We will post the schedule of upcoming sessions as well as recordings of previous ones on the SABC website at skylinesboosters.org. We'd like to take this opportunity to thank our session sponsor, Washtenaw Dairy, for their financial support in making this month's virtual broadcast possible. Tonight's session is on college athletic recruiting. You're probably here tonight because you or your child is considering playing a sport in college. Have you asked these questions? What other options besides D1 are available? What are the NCAA eligibility requirements? How can I get myself noticed? Can my coach help? What advice do parents and athletes have about the process? We will answer these questions and more during the session. We will have a time at the end of the session to answer some of your questions. Please type them into the Q&A window and we will get to as many of them as possible. Now let's introduce our guest panel for tonight. Nancy Catola is head of operations for scoutforce.com, an online college athletic recruiting site that lets student athletes create athletic and academic profiles that college coaches can easily search. Ms. Catola is also a former Skyline parent and has 2 daughters playing collegiate soccer. Mojo Moret has led the Skyline's men and women's swim and dive team for 14 years. Coach Mojo is a 5-time recipient of the SCA Coach of the Year and has 21 of her athletes go on to compete at the collegiate level. She was head coach at Eastern Michigan University for 6 years and twice named MAC Coach of the Year. She was also an assistant coach at Ohio State University and Kenyon College. Molly Lipton is the NCAA administrator for Ann Arbor Public Schools. Ms. Lipton is also a physical education and health education teacher at Scarlett Middle School and a basketball and track coach. Ms. Lipton played basketball for 4 years at Olivet College and is a parent of the student athlete playing basketball at Xavier University. Chris Morgan is the head coach for the Skyline's men and women's soccer team. He's here tonight not only as a coach, but also as a parent going through the college recruiting journey with his daughter, Sophia, who is a senior at Skyline. Eamon Hordwedel graduated from Skyline in 2018 and is currently playing NCAA Division I baseball at Ohio University, majoring in chemical engineering. A warm welcome to all of our guests. Let's begin with a question for Ms. Catola. NCAA Division I teams get the most publicity, but what other options are there for playing college sports and what are the advantages and disadvantages to those?
So this question, I think, really goes to the student athlete and the parent and the family as well, because there is Division I, but there is Division II, Division III, NAIA, and junior colleges as well. So it really depends on what you're trying to get out of the experience. If you're a Division I athlete, the chances are that you're probably thinking of going on after school and after sport and trying to do something in the sport, or that's not always the case, but more often than not, that's sometimes the case in Division I. Division II and Division III are also good options. Division I has scholarship money, Division II has scholarship money, Division III has academic money, and NAIA and JUCO also have scholarship money. So it's really a matter of what you're looking for as a family and as an athlete. I can speak to my girls going to Division III schools. One was recruited Division I and didn't have any desire to go to a Division I school and play athletics simply because of the commitment. And there is a pretty large commitment with Division I. It's like a full-time job with just the practices and the travel and the meetings with coaches, the trainers, everything like that. Division III is also a lot of commitment, but not nearly as much. They follow, I think it's the 20-hour timeline of per week of what you can practice and what you can play. But it also gives you a travel experience, just not as extensive. They almost all of the Division III schools are able to find a way to give you some academic money if you want. And then I guess JUCO, I would say, or junior colleges are also good because they are a stepping stone to get into different programs, either Division I or Division II. So for example, if football, basketball, softball are all pretty big junior college sports, which transfer on then to like a Division I or a Division II program. Super important just to note with junior colleges, however, with football players, California junior colleges, they have a huge program out there. With all of those schools, however, they are not allowed to contact anyone out of California. So just as a caveat, I just wanted to put that out there. No one really knows that. So if you're interested in playing at that level, you might want to contact them first. But basically, those are the options. And I'd say that it really varies on what you are looking to pay, how big a school you're looking to go to, and really just the experience in the sport that you're hoping to get.
Thanks, Ms. Catola, for describing the different options available. Mr. Morgan, as a parent, how can you help your child decide what type of school is right for them?
So I think the biggest thing for myself and for Sophia is we've traveled to the schools and we've taken a part in just checking out the city, checking out the campus, getting to know the area, because it's going to be at least 4 years of their life, possibly more. And so I think that investment of that 1 or 2 day trip is well worth the money spent. I think that, if you can't now, obviously with the pandemic, which has thrown a monkey wrench into a lot of plans, you can do the online, the virtual tours. But I know this past summer, we did a pretty extensive ID camp circuit and just visited a lot of cities. And that really told her or helped her understand what it was like in Missouri in the summer, or what it was like in Minnesota in January. Those are things to always consider.
That's really helpful, Mr. Morgan. Ms. Catola, what should a student athlete be doing to get themselves noticed? Should they start contacting coaches? And is there a best way to do this?
Yes, absolutely. They should. I think it's essential, and almost every coach that I talk to, just to give you some background, I talk to a lot of coaches who are looking for different recruits, and they all say that, well, profiles, and granted, this is my own company, are important for kids. They want to hear from the athlete themselves. They don't want to hear from the parent. It's good to hear from coaches, club coaches and coaches like Chris, if they have somebody that they think that will fit. But ultimately, they want to hear from the kid themselves. So I think it's really important that you start emailing coaches, that you do make some type of profile and include that in your link. Include, your events that you're going to be at. I wouldn't bomb the coaches, but I do think it's very important to contact them. And on that same note, where if you're getting contacted already by coaches, I think it's equally important to respond to the coaches, even if you aren't interested. They all talk to each other. They see each other at events. And you just don't want to put a check mark on yourself as someone who doesn't respond. They'd rather hear no and go on and move on to other things, opposed to just waiting for you. So I think it's important to contact coaches. And I think it's important to follow up via email, maybe a couple weeks later, just let them know that you're interested. They really want to see that you're interested in their program, follow up with what they're doing. If they've got a good win or something like that, put that in your email. So yes, I think it's absolutely essential to contact coaches.
That's really useful information to have. Eamon, what did you do to get yourself noticed?
Yeah, so my recruiting process was more so atypical for a college baseball player. I did not do any showcase events, though those are really huge to get yourself noticed, especially in a sport like baseball. There's always prospect camps. Those are what I went to. I would contact coaches before I would go to their camp specifically, let them know, hey, this is who I am. I'm coming to your camp. And maybe it gives them a little heads up about who you are, and they can pay a little closer attention to you while you're there. Definitely emailing coaches, lots of camps, whether it be like a prospect camp or a showcase. I also had a recruiting profile through NCSA, which helped me understand the different types of colleges out there. I think that was more beneficial for smaller schools. I know a lot of D2, D3, and NAI schools use that platform, and I got a lot of camp information through that website. It didn't necessarily help me get any offers, but it helped me at least understand the college recruiting process a little bit better. Knowing people with connections is really important. I had 2 travel coaches who had a ton of college connections, and they really helped me get my name out there to a lot of different colleges. I mean, obviously a lot of them didn't hit for me, but there were a couple that stuck, and I could have that college coach talk to me because of that connection that I had through my travel coach. And the last thing, good grades help. Obviously you have to be talented in the athletic department, but if there's 2 people that a coach is looking at that are neck and neck with the athletics, but you have the academic edge on them, that is super crucial in getting recruited. So I'm a person who had pretty good grades, so that definitely helped me a lot in my recruiting process.
Thanks, Eamon. Coach Mojo, how can you get your high school or club coaches and organizations to help?
So I think that it's really important to understand, like Nancy said, that while parents and coaches can help, that this is the responsibility of the athletes, and they really should take the lead on this. And when you're going through this process, if you can't get it done, meaning if you're not motivated, if it's just not working for you, then maybe you're looking in the wrong places, and you should kind of change your approach and do something differently instead of just trying to plow through and go ahead, and understand that your path is your own and it's going to be different than anyone else's. And I would strongly encourage you to foster relationships with your coaches and your teachers. And you're going to ask them for phone calls to coaches and letters of recommendation. And so you want to have a relationship with them so that it's easy for them to make those calls and write those letters. And when they have 6 or 7 letters to write, yours is the one that they want to do first, because it's easy for them, because they know you. Your coaches want you to succeed. They want you to be successful at the next level if that's what you choose. And understand that that means 2 or 3 years from now, like Eamon right now is knocking it out of the park. That no baseball reference meant there, but it kind of good anyway, right? But they, that's more important for you. They want to see you be successful 2 or 3 years from now, not just on signing date. And so understand that you have to kind of think of the whole big picture, and don't get caught up in that signing ceremony and all the fluff things that go along with it. And you have to, where do you see yourself? Where do you want to see yourself 2 years down the road? And lastly, whatever level you end up at, everybody has skills. Like everybody's going to have similar skills at your level. And so be different by your attitude and your mindset. Those are the things that you can control.
That's great to know. Ms. Lipton, what do student athletes need to know about grades and courses as it relates to NCAA eligibility?
I think the last 2 people that spoke, Eamon, I hope I got your name right, buddy, and Mojo seemed to be steering it into literally like a segue for me. Grades and your character are incredibly important for the college recruiting process. So I am going to talk about grades, because without grades and meeting certain standards, you could be the next LeBron James, but you won't advance. You won't even be able to play. So I'm going to share my screen and go over a few. Oh, sorry there, Emily. Appreciate it. I'm going to go over a few really important aspects of the NCAA Eligibility Center website. I haven't done Zoom in a while, guys. Is this working? You guys can see it? Okay, sweet. So this website, I believe, is posted to the Booster Club situation. This is like your starting point. So every single high school student athlete should create an account if they have not already. And it's pretty easy to kind of to follow the instructions here. If you are interested in playing Division I or Division II sports, you would follow the prompts here. If you are more of a D3 type path, or you're not really sure, you can start with a profile page. If you're a junior or a senior and you haven't done any of this yet, it's okay. You still can do it, but you're going to want to create an account. Now, it does cost a fee of $90. If you receive free and reduced lunch, you can go talk to your counselor and they will give you a waiver code, so that fee will be waived. If you are unsure if you receive free or reduced lunch, you can talk to your counselor as well. So this is of the utmost importance for like starting points. Everyone must do that. From there, the next best thing to go over with you is this document right here, and it talks about what's called core courses. They're not just simply academic courses. There are certain courses in Ann Arbor Public Schools that are NCAA approved, which means the NCAA would approve those courses for a student athlete to hit the appropriate content in order to be deemed eligible upon graduation. So the best people in your school that know all these classes are your counselors. And there is a breakdown for Division I and Division II with how many years of each content area course you need to take of an NCAA approved course. Now, this might seem like overwhelming and bombarding. It's really not. Talk to your counselor. They're a really big advocate for you, and explain that you would like to play Division I or Division II sports. Coinciding with these 16 core credits that you need to take is your GPA. And PE or health or art or electives do not impact this GPA. This core course GPA is supremely different than your Skyline High School GPA. This GPA that the NCAA bases your eligibility off is simply from these NCAA approved courses. So if you took English 9, that's NCAA approved. If you took English 10, that's NCAA approved. Just giving you some examples. Something that's really helpful as well is looking at the high school timeline. This is just kind of like a guideline. It's not a end all be all, but this is just kind of like a starting point, like, oh, what are some things I can do each year? Excuse me. And it kind of breaks it down for you. The only other pamphlets I got or brochures I have are just specific Division I academic requirements. There's a sliding scale. Your GPA correlates directly with your test score. So if you have a higher core course GPA, you would need to score a much lower test on your standardized test to be deemed eligible to receive an athletic scholarship. And I have the same thing for Division II. This information is right here. Now, currently, this academic calendar year, the most institutions, well, the NCAA Eligibility Center is not requiring a standardized test score, and that's directly related to COVID. However, many universities, for entry into their school, still are requiring it. So just kind of keep that in mind, even though it's kind of an interesting, uncertain territory. COVID has kind of thrown a wrench in everybody's hat, so to speak. So D1 and D2, I believe Ms. Catola mentioned this, D1 and D2 are the only ones that can offer athletic scholarships. So these are the only ones that have certain parameters around core courses and GPAs and test scores. Division III, it's entirely up to the university or college. Junior colleges completely different as well. And so is NAIA, it's a separate entity. So all of the information I just showed you in terms of core course GPA, et cetera, it's for D1 and D2, and there's a slight difference between the two as well. The last thing I'm going to leave you with is just kind of like hammering what Mojo said, like be your own advocate, be a good human, make connections with your coaches and your counselors. If you want to play a sport and move forward with it, tell your coach, tell your counselor, and then they'll help you. So be your own advocate. That's really the best advice I can give you.
Thank you, Ms. Lipton. I'm sure the checklist will be very helpful. Coach Mojo, we've heard financial aid mentioned. Are all scholarship offers the same? And are there other ways for athletes to pay for college?
Okay. In getting ready for this, I was looking on the NCAA website that Molly just mentioned to you. There's a ton of really good information there. And the NCAA will tell you that your best path to a good education is education. And that they really don't encourage you to play sports to get a scholarship, because less than 1% of athletes get athletic scholarships in college. Less than 2% get any money at all. Less than 1% gets a full scholarship. So you should probably not count on that to be your best bet. When you are going to college, the bigger school that you go to, obviously they're going to have more money and more benefits, but they also have more restrictions. So you have to be careful if you're getting financial aid someplace, because there may be a scholarship. So for example, in Ann Arbor Public Schools, we award the UFOR scholarship every year. And when we do that, if you're an athlete at the University of Michigan, you can't accept the money that goes with that award. And so I think a lot of schools have things like that. So when you're planning scholarships and your financial future, that's a good thing to know what that school requires or allows. A lot of sports are head count sports, like volleyball, basketball, where there's a certain number of people on the team. And often those athletes get full scholarships at Division I schools. There are also equivalency sports. So in the sport of swimming, for example, we have 14 scholarships, but it might be broken up between 30 people on the team, and there might be many people on the team who don't get any money at all. There's also something called a preferred walk-on, which you're walking onto the team. Generally, you don't get any scholarship money, but you do get all of the benefits of being on that team, between tutors and our version of study tables and team meals and things like that. And also it can help you be admitted to a school that you might not be admitted to otherwise. So that being a preferred walk-on. And then there's just regular old walk-ons, and you can't just show up at a school and say, I want to be on the team. There are a number of requirements and there are things like that. And so often Division III teams, you can walk onto a team, but the higher up you go, the less likely that is. And all schools do offer scholarships, just not athletic scholarships. So last year, $46 billion were awarded in financial aid to go to college between athletic and academic aid. And I would recommend that you check in the Career Center at Skyline, that there's a lot of information there about different scholarships. And also I want to direct you to the Ann Arbor Area Community Foundation. It's the AAACF.org. Those are a lot of local scholarships and a lot of scholarships given through the different schools in Ann Arbor. Google is your friend. I was Googling some scholarships today. There is one category that says 7 weirdest scholarships. And there are any number of things, and you would be really surprised at what you might qualify for. And I want you to go after, if it's a need for you and it allows to open paths for you, you need to approach scholarships like it's a job, like it's your business, because it's that important. And when you are saying, oh, it's only $500, think about the difference between getting that $500 in a scholarship or paying that $500 back with interest. And that might give you a little bit motivation to get those smaller scholarships that will make a difference. I'd also encourage you to look into work study, because if maybe you want to be an athlete, you want to be around athletics, but you don't quite make the team. You want to go to Michigan, but you're not good enough to play at Michigan. There's a lot of jobs that do pay, like equipment managers and marketing interns, and as under work study programs. And finally, again, like everybody else, your opportunities and your options increase exponentially with good grades. Not only your ability to apply for some scholarships, but the percentage in the decision process, part of that decision is grades. And so your chances of getting them increase just by being a better student. So that's it. So that's what I want to say.
That's a lot of great information, Coach Mojo. Thank you. Mr. Morgan, how else can parents help in the recruiting process?
So I think the biggest thing that I've been able to do is just have patience with the process and help my daughter also have patience, because in our society, we, instant gratification, I want to sign or I want to commit. And that doesn't, I think Mojo bringing up that 1%, that's not really a lot of kids. So it's just helping them understand the process and understand that it's going to take time. And, aside from that, getting good video, although a lot of college coaches, they're not necessarily wanting to watch more video because for a long time they couldn't go to events, they couldn't go to live games, ID showcases and such. But still, I think video can be very helpful, and putting together quality video is important. Those are probably the two biggest things, is just supporting my daughter, having patience, helping her have patience, and then the video side of things as well.
Thanks, Mr. Morgan. Eamon, as a current college student athlete, what advice do you have for high schoolers who are looking to play in college?
Sure. I'm going to apologize in advance because I have a ton of stuff that I'm about to say. First of all, being someone who's gone through this entire process, I just want to say that everything that you've heard so far is 100% accurate. Coach Morgan just made a very good point in that, something I totally forgot about. It was an extremely, extremely stressful and emotional time through the college recruitment process, because I knew I wanted to play college sports, but the offers weren't just, flying out the window right at me, so it was definitely a very stressful and emotional time. And my parents were very supportive and patient during that process, and they really helped out a lot, at least calm me down. I'm sure they were stressed too, but they at least helped me out. Another thing, advocating for yourself, I forgot to mention earlier. It's huge. Definitely advocate for yourself. All right, so what advice do you have for high schoolers who are looking to play in college? The first thing I would say is know your priorities. Whether that be where you're going to school, what the campus is like, what the campus atmosphere is like. Are you going more for academics? Are you going more for athletics? What kind of financial needs do you need to go to a school that's going to provide you more money? Is finances not as much of a problem? So first, I think you really got to nail what your priorities are. And once you figure that out, then you can start narrowing what the colleges of your choice are. For me, my priorities were a college with a nice campus. Growing up in Ann Arbor, I kind of took for granted how nice of a college campus the University of Michigan was. So when I went and took visits to all these other schools, I was like, man, these places kind of suck. Well, this isn't like Michigan. But I was lucky in that Ohio University has a really, really nice campus that I think compares very well to U of M. But that's my personal preference. That was one of my priorities. Another one of my priorities was that I really, really wanted to play Division I athletics. I only had 2 D1 offers. I had a lot of D2 and D3 offers as well, but I was so hung up on playing D1 that was another one of my priorities. In hindsight, I wish I wasn't so hung up on that. As you've all learned by now, there are a lot of other collegiate options. If you have aspirations of playing post-college, wherever you go to college doesn't necessarily matter. The majority of professional athletes come from Division I schools, but that doesn't mean you can't go pro from D2, D3, JUCO, NAIA. You have a ton of professional athletes coming out of those schools. So like I was saying, I wish I wasn't so hung up on the process of going D1. I had a really, really good Division II offer from Hillsdale, and I really, really liked the coaches. I liked the campus. It looked like a really good fit for me, but I was so hung up on going D1. Now, I am lucky. I really love Ohio University, but I just didn't even consider Hillsdale because it wasn't Division I, which is something I wish in your guys' college recruiting process is something you don't do. there was a baseball player in my class from Brighton High School he was very good. He had a lot of Division I offers, pretty good Division I offers coming out of high school, and he chose to go to a junior college. And I was like, that kid to a junior college? Why is he going there? He's better than that. And then the next year, after he had a really good year of junior college, he ended up transferring to Mississippi State. And last year, he was a national champion. So there's a lot of developing that you can do within college. He was obviously good enough to go to D1 out of high school, but he decided to go JUCO, develop to an even better baseball player. And like I said, now he's a national champion. So don't knock on the smaller schools. You can develop anywhere. You can be the athlete you want to be at any school. Definitely be open-minded when you take college visits. That's really all I have to say about that. Take visits, like Coach Morgan was saying. I think taking visits really are beneficial. Obviously, for my case, I wanted to see what the campus was like. So you can't really get that off of Google Images. You really got to go to a place and feel it out for yourself. Choosing the wrong school. So I came in to Ohio University with 11 different baseball players in my class, in my recruiting class. Now I'm a senior and only 3 of those people remain. So that means 8 people either quit or they transferred. Now, a lot of those kids either quit or transferred because of the school. They didn't think it was a right fit. They probably didn't realize that coming out of high school. They probably didn't give it a whole lot of thought. So you should definitely do that. But on the flip side of that, I think a lot of it has to do with maturity, which is something I'm going to get into here in a little bit. College is a big commitment aside from the athletics. And then you throw in the aspect that you're a student athlete, and it is, like Nancy said, a full-time job. It is unreal how much time you have to put into both your academics and your athletics. So I'm going to give you guys a little demonstration of what that is like. I don't know who's doing the Zoom, but if you have my slide, here it is. All right. So I'm just going to take what my semester is right now as an example. So I'm taking 16 credit hours this fall. This is what my schedule looks like. Kind of have some early classes in there at 7:30. And then like today is my busy day. So I had a class from 5:30 to 7:30. So luckily I got out in time and I could meet with you guys. And if we go to the next slide, this is what my schedule looks like with baseball. So, it looks like a couple of them got cut out. That's okay. Anyway, so my baseball schedule, you're allowed 20 hours of team activity a week. I'm also rehabbing from injury, so I included the 3 hours of rehab. So now we go from 16 credit hours of class plus the 23 hours. We're at 36 hours. Not to mention, on Wednesdays and Fridays, we have 6 a.m. lifts. So that's really fun, waking up at 5 in the morning to go to a lift, which I'm being sarcastic, it's not, but that's part of your job. If we go to the next slide, we have classes plus baseball, plus you got to eat food, right? You can't go the whole day without eating. So let's say you eat 3 meals a day, about 20 minutes per meal, roughly. I'm a slow eater, so probably more than that. But plus I like to lift on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I like to get that extra lift in there every week. So now we're at 48 hours a week of doing stuff. And as you can see from the schedule, it's getting pretty cluttered. All right, so if we go to the next slide, now we're going to add in sleep, because you obviously have to sleep too. So 8 hours a day for 7 days a week is 56 hours. You got to do your homework. So if I do 2 hours of homework a day, which is about right, sometimes it's a little less, that's now 14 hours a week. Plus I have a lot of group projects as a chemical engineering major, so that's 6 hours. So now if you look at all the hours in a 7-day week, that's 168 hours. Minus the hours spent doing all this other stuff that I got to do, that's 44 hours of free time a week, which on the next slide, you'll see that it might seem like a lot because that's a little over 6 hours a day, but psych, it's not, because with my baseball schedule, I have absolutely nothing on Sunday. So that's about 12 to 14 hours where I'm doing absolutely nothing. Plus Saturdays, we only have morning practice. So that means the second half of the day. So my weekends are pretty much free. But I still have to do all that homework and stuff. So on a weekday, I really only have 2, maybe 3 hours of free time a week, which is not a whole lot. You're really going at the collegiate level as an athlete. Plus, I didn't list things such as cooking, grocery shopping, getting haircuts, doing laundry, cleaning around the house, or in my own case, having to call Spectrum Wireless every week because they keep charging you for not returning equipment, which you did. So there's a lot of things that you have to do as a college athlete. There's a lot of time commitment. And going back to what I said a little while ago, I think a lot of the reasons that kids transfer from schools, sometimes it's because of the school, it's not the right fit, but a lot of times they're not ready for that step into being a student athlete yet. And I don't think they're necessarily mature enough for that. And so they might blame it on the school rather than looking at themselves and saying, maybe I just wasn't ready for college yet, and this is harder than I thought. And instead of just working through that and being used to that, like I said, they kind of blame it on the school, and so they go somewhere else. And I've known kids that have been at 5 different schools in their 4 years of college, which is absurd, but sometimes it's what you got to do. And let's see what else I have on my notes. Yeah, so I didn't want to do this to scare you guys. It's a good, eye opener seeing how busy my schedule is, but not all schools or academic programs are as rigorous as what I showed you. I'm a chemical engineering major, which is very time consuming, as well as a Division I athlete. So this is probably as bad as it gets. It probably could be worse if I went to an Ivy League school, honestly, but this is about as bad as it could get. So just want to show it to you to open your eyes a little bit. It's not this bad, but yeah. Last thing I wanted to say, also getting ready to be a collegiate athlete. How your coaches are going to contact you and treat you while you're in high school, while you're getting recruited, is going to be different from when you step foot on campus. So just be ready for that. They might hype you up, make you seem like you're going to be the best player when you step foot on campus, but then you get there and you're one of 11 freshmen, let alone one of 40 people on a team, and all of a sudden you're not that guy anymore. So you really got to work hard and earn everything that you can. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Such good information. Thank you. So we have time to do a lightning round for all of our panelists. So the question is, in your opinion, what are the top 3 things every student athlete who wants to play a college sport should do? Anybody can go.
I'll go ahead and start. I think the biggest thing, we're student athletes for a reason. You've got to be a student. That's the number one thing. Being an athlete it's a privilege, it's an honor, but being a student has to be number one. That's what's going to get you where you need to go. So that's my number one, probably number 1 and number 2.
I co-sign with Chris. What's up, Morgan, by the way? And I'm going to add in there, be realistic. Be realistic with yourself, with what best fit would be for you academically first, and then athletically. And in terms of athletically, Eamon mentioned this, think about it. If actual playing time is what is the most important, maybe setting your sights on a major D1 university, it might not be the best fit for the first couple of years. If just simply playing the game is what really drives you, then maybe, be realistic about your options. And if you're not sure, I'm sure your coaches can help you to be realistic. But I think that is kind of really, really important. I think a lot of people have these major aspirations, I'm going to play at University of Tennessee basketball, and that's it or nothing else. And I think there's so many different options. So just be realistic with yourself.
I'll go. I can't come up with any really good 3 things. I can't remember what the question was, but I think it was list 3 things. I will say this, and that I think everybody's process is unique. It's not going to be the same from anybody else's. So don't be discouraged throughout the process, because it's really easy to get down on yourself when you're getting recruited, like I did a lot. I was a very late person to the party of getting offers. So everyone's process is unique. Just stay patient and hang in there.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for providing such valuable information. We will now take questions from the audience. As a reminder, please type your questions into the Q&A window. Ms. Slimers, what is our first question?
All right, thanks so much, Emily, and thanks to our panelists for all the great information they've provided so far. Our first question, I think, Eamon, I'll throw it to you. It's regarding social media. How can athletes use social media to either connect with schools or to get noticed?
Sure. I think social media is a great topic. The way the question was posed is what can you do with social media as a positive influence? I'm going to start it off by saying how it can be a negative influence on your recruiting process. Be very careful with what you post. College coaches look at that stuff a lot, especially at bigger schools. So don't post anything that you wouldn't want your grandma to see. You know, that's kind of the big one that people throw around. So be very careful with your social media posts. On the flip side of that, it can also be very beneficial. There's a lot of different social media platforms that kind of boost your profile, I suppose you could say, in your athletic prowess. I did not do any of that. I think it's more of a thing now than it was back when I was getting recruited. So I'm a little more unfamiliar on that. However, there's definitely a lot of, I like press sports is a really big thing now. I don't know if it's just for baseball or if it's for other sports. But there's definitely platforms out there. I'm sorry, I don't know how to contact them or how you would get in contact with them to kind of get your name out there. So that's the best answer I can give. Sorry.
Ms. Lipton or Coach Morgan, do you have any follow-up on social media and what your thoughts are, either from a parent coach perspective?
So I'd like to reiterate what Eamon said. We had some really good soccer players that crossed the line with social media and lost their scholarship. So it can be very dangerous waters, especially if you're getting political or if you're saying things about others. Coaches will find it and they will see it. And it's sad people learn too late. So use it for the power of good. That's my best piece. And I know Molly's going to have something to add to that too.
Yeah, very much second what both of those people said. And if you're not sure where the boundaries lie with social media, and if something is too borderline, I would encourage you just to simply email college coaches. Like, use communication that way. Don't try and tweet them, or I don't do social media, so I'm probably going to say all the things incorrect or whatever on Instagram and all of that. Like, try and really just keep it very G-rated, because they will check it. If you are nothing but drama on your social media account, they'll look and they'll find out. So I'd almost encourage you not to do the most with it, if at all possible.
All right. Well, thank you, all of you, for that. Our next question I will pose to Coach Morgan. And anyone, again, can also answer if they have feedback. But what kind of questions should you ask college coaches? If you're making a list, what are some of the things that you should make sure you are asking them?
So I think you need to do some homework before you do talk with the college coach. And I would start off by, like my daughter and I, we would look at the roster of the team. And if they were all 6'4", my daughter's not blessed with a lot of height. She's more like 5'4". So there's little things that you can do before. I'm sorry, the band is kind of loud. Yeah, we just had practice. I'm sorry. So I would talk with them about their academic prowess and how they're doing. If there's an all SEC team or an all Big Ten academic team, again, you can find these things out, but I would show the coach that you're committed to your academic side of things. I would ask them, what are they looking for in a player? Are they graduating a lot of midfielders? That's my position. Or are they in need of a midfielder? And I try to show them my versatility. I would, when you do go to whether it be a phone conversation or an email, I would probably try to come up with 4 or 5 questions to show them that you're interested, and that you have a genuine interest, I guess is the way to go about it. I would also ask them, have they had any serious injuries. I mean, there's lots of things that you can find out about their program. U of M's had some bad luck with their ACLs. I know with my daughter's teams, they've had ACL injuries. So what are coaches, what are programs doing to protect females against having that happen to them as well? How well are they going to take care of me personally? I want to know how well they're going to take care of my daughter, because essentially they're going to parent my child for the next 4 or 5 years. And I'm sure Mojo has some questions, or Molly has some questions that they could ask that I've omitted or left out.
I think asking or inquiring about the team dynamic is pretty important, especially if it's a team sport. That tends to be pretty key, because your teammates become like your family for 4 years. And what is the team dynamic like? If diversity is really important for you, you can do some homework on your own. And like Coach Morgan said, like, you can research the roster. Depending on the geographic location of a school, it tends to impact, if it's a lower level, the diversity or the makeup of the university or of the team. So kind of like what Coach was saying, try to come up with 4 or 5 and maybe just think of what is really, really important to you. You can also Google what questions to ask a college coach and kind of just get some ideas from there, and then kind of tweak them. And you can always run what you have past your college coach, or I'm sorry, your high school coach or a teacher. You guys probably aren't even aware of this, but there are a lot of teachers in Skyline who played collegiate sports. There's a lot of teachers at Pioneer that played collegiate sports. Same at Huron. I mean, they might not look like athletes anymore, but they still have like the knowledge and whatnot. So just a few other things to think about.
All right, thanks. Eamon, anything to add, or did they kind of cover?
Oh, no, I think Coach Morgan really hit the nail on the head there. Everything he said is exactly what I did. I'm a 5'10" right-handed pitcher, which is very short. Not very short, but it's fairly short. It's on the shorter side for a Division I right-handed pitcher. So I would look at colleges and look at the measurables. I'd say, okay, first off, how many upper class right-handed pitchers do they have, so that when I go in, those guys will be graduating. So that's what they're going to need, right? Second, I would look at their pitchers and I'd be like, okay, which of these guys are under 6 feet tall, because that shows me that their coaches are willing to recruit undersized guys. And then the other thing I would look at is, depending on where the school is, where are all these players coming from? Where do they like to recruit from? Do they recruit locally? Do they like to recruit on the West Coast, like University of Michigan baseball? I know they like to take a lot of their guys from Florida, Texas, and California, because they're the leaders and the best, and they want the big and the bad guys, right? So I would say those 3 things I would look at a lot. As far as asking questions to the coach, I think everything that's been said is pretty much sums it up.
All right, thanks so much. Eamon, a question came in for you. Are there any limits on the classes or majors that you can pursue?
There are no limits, other than you have to take 12 credit hours in order to be eligible. And you cannot fail, I want to say, 2 of those classes. You have to take at least 12 credit hours, and you have to pass all 12 of those credit hours. If you take more, you can't fail classes below that 12 credit hour minimum, and then otherwise you'll be ineligible. You can take as many credits as you want. I don't think you can take it at our school, at least. I don't think you can take more than 22 in a given semester. I believe that sounds right. Not that I don't think I've ever met anybody who's taken that many credits. You can take as many majors as you want. My roommate is a triple major. He just picked up his 3rd major this year. He's also in the business school. I think it would be impossible for me to double major given my current major, but there's no rules. If I wanted to pursue a graduate degree here, the only grad degree program I could pursue would be coaching education. And that is one rule that our university has. That's different from university to university. Obviously, other universities, you can pursue any other grad degree you want. But if I wanted to be a grad student next year with my remaining eligibility, that is a rule that our program has.
Excellent. So make sure you do your homework. Every school could have different rules, and so make sure you're checking what your interests are and that it matches with the school you're thinking of going to. Excellent. I think I'll pose this to Coach Morgan, but again, anyone can jump in. If a junior is getting limited playing time or has little experience, what's the reality of getting an athletic scholarship?
So a junior in high school is what you're saying? So I don't think your high school career defines you, whether it be extremely successful based on playing time or not as successful. With the way people mature, the way people grow, some people will not physically mature until they're 18, 19, 20, and so they'll not peak until later. I don't think that should deter you one way or the other. If anything, it should, if this is truly what you want to be an athlete, then it should motivate you to train harder. There's a saying that I like to use, and for every day I'm not training, someone else is training. And so I have to use that as internal motivation. I don't think, look at Michael Jordan. Now, again, Michael Jordan was Michael Jordan, but he was cut his freshman year. That lack of success, it could have demotivated him or motivated him, and it definitely motivated him. So I don't think that should be the end all. I think depending on the sport, I think there are avenues or ways that you can better yourself in terms of athletics. So I hope that answers that question, because I think the best is yet to come for some.
No, I think that's excellent advice. Thank you so much. Before I get to the last question we have in here, if anyone else has any questions, please type them in now, and we'll get to as many as we can before we wrap up. This question, Molly, I think I'll throw your way. Can you finish your degree in more than 4 years?
It often takes many people longer than 4 years to complete a collegiate degree. So yes, you can. I think depending on what level you go to play and what sport it is, an example I'll give you is my daughter. She played major Division I basketball, and at the time, her freshman and sophomore year, her university they were like top 10, top 15 in the country. And when she got to school, her counselor, as instructed by her basketball coach, did not want most players on the team taking more than 15 credit hours. So it was between 12 and 15 credit hours per semester. They did a lot of traveling. Their schedule looked like Eamon's, but sometimes even worse, or more filled. So given those parameters, none of those athletes, if that trend would have continued for 4 years, would have graduated on time. So I think it kind of depends. That word being an advocate for yourself is really important. If you know that you're going to need more than 4 years, you can talk to your coach, if it's D1 or D2, about maybe doing a red shirt, and that would get you an additional year of a full ride scholarship and give you a little bit more time to complete your degree. A red shirt can be given for various reasons: injury, just a red shirt because you're too young, or they might have too many players at your position that are seniors. There's lots of different reasons. So yes, you can get your degree in 4 years. You can get your degree in 40 years. They just might not pay for it for more than about 4 or 5.
Thank you so much, Molly. That's the end of the questions that have come in from participants. We will be posting notes from this presentation if you came in late, as well as a lot of additional information that our panelists have given us. That'll all be posted on the SABC website, so you can check there to get more information. There'll also be a recording of this posted there, so you can watch it back. And if you did come in later, you want to hear what someone said again. At the beginning, I know Nancy Catola talked a lot about the differences between Division I, II, III, NAIA, and JUCO. So if you missed that, you definitely want to circle back and see some of that. all that information will be posted there. We will be doing these speaker sessions every month. And our next one is going to be on sports journalism. And we have an awesome lineup of panelists that will be coming. So stay tuned for more information on that. It will be October 27th at 7 p.m. And I want to take a moment now to thank all our panelists. I want to thank Coach Morgan, both from your perspective as a coach and from a parent. Your insights have been incredibly valuable. Molly, everything you shared from your vast experiences have been incredible. I think a lot of people walked away knowing a lot more from the academic side, but also from a parent side and other information. So thank you. Eamon, I think from the student perspective, you probably gave a lot of our student athlete participants a lot to think about. And I hope they do reflect on what you said and really think about what's best for them and take your advice to heart. So thank you so much. I know Ms. Patola and Coach Mojo had to leave early, but I do want to thank them for all the insights that they provided. Ms. Patola gave us lots of information that we will be posting on the SAAB website. So please make sure you circle back for that. I want to thank Emily for being our fabulous host. Thank you so much, Emily. And so Terry Middleton for helping organize, of course, this whole series. We want to thank Washtenaw Dairy for being our sponsor. And when you exit this, there'll be a survey. We'd like you to take a moment to answer it because this is something we kind of put together. We thought it would be useful to have this speaker series on ways that you can be involved in sports, whether you're a student athlete or you want to work around in different fields. And so your feedback will help us ensure that each of these additional speaker series we do are the best they can be. So thank you so much for coming this evening. And we hope to see you next month when we talk about sports journalism. So thank you so much.